Hello, you're through to Books Boys. You've got Dean on the line. Who's calling?
Ah, it's John Blackwood.
Blackwood, fantastic that you would call in, and such a coincidence because we were just chatting about your great book here, The Turning Point, which I have beside me. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing fine.
Good. Probably not afternoon for yourself, actually. You're still in the morning, are you?
No, no, I'm in the afternoon.
Oh, you're in the
Good.
afternoon as well. Are you in
How are
the
you?
UK?
Hey?
Are you in the UK as well?
Yes. How are
Oh,
you?
when you asked me about the time zone, I thought maybe you were over in the States or
Well,
something.
I took it your accent was American at first, but now I hear it's Ulster.
Yeah, it is. I'm from just outside Belfast.
Oh well.
So, I read the book and we chatted about it there, and it's an interesting one because I would say that it's sort of there's two different things happening in the book, and correct me if I'm wrong. There is the base story, which is about essentially modern slavery, sex slavery, and the abduction of Judy. But then there's this underlying story about kind of society in general, this almost dystopian, wokery kind of thing. Was it your plan to have those two sort of elements and to see how they could come together?
Um, well, broadly speaking, your analysis is perfectly correct. Um, oh, it followed on from a previous book a little bit, but there's no particular continuity of story there. Um, but two of the characters followed on. But basically, I wanted to let everybody think about what's going on in society. I don't want to frame, oh, it's this conspiracy theory or that conspiracy theory. I'm not in the business of doing that, but certainly
Mm,
some conspiracy theory applies these days. Um, and I thought, well, how to do it? And I thought, well, what would they be doing? And what they were doing in the last book was running a bordello to get influence on politicians. So I thought I'll extend that a little bit. And what would be beyond that? Well, it'd be people trafficking. It would
yeah,
be moving girls about. And so the two things came together. And I thought I'll do it that way. And then there had to be somebody to traffic, and that was Judy, not Trudy. And I thought initially she'd be some sort of ancillary character, although she'd have to play a part in the whole story. But she rapidly took over the whole thing. And I know it's not PC to write about girls if you're a man, or especially not to write about young girls, but there you are.
mm.
And she took over the whole story.
She
Uh,
did. I mean, we start out really with now. I don't know how to pronounce this chap's name. It's the one that she calls Side Martin. Is it
yes,
Said Martin? I don't know how
yeah.
that's pronounced.
It was, he's from the original story, and he was to illustrate the international man who has no idea what his origins are.
Mm.
He's questioned about his name, and he has no idea. He's never asked about it. He's never inquired into it, you know. But
Yeah.
that was the point of the silly name.
And Judy calls him
Side Martin.
Side Martin. Yeah. We kind of start out, I mean, in the beginning, I'm thinking almost that he's going to be our main character just because we kind of set the scene of him working in hotels and things, and then he gets this assignment basically. We'll give you a whole load of money, go work in this place, take a little while to get to grips with it, and then we throw this at you. Oh, by the way, it's kind of you're going to be overseeing this sex
Yeah,
slavery business.
yeah.
And
And
he's in shock about it.
he's not expected to object, and he doesn't ultimately.
No,
He just accepts it.
he does. He is shocked by it though, but
Oh
he
yes,
accepts
yeah.
it. Yeah.
It's a step too far for him. He's come halfway in the
Yeah.
previous book, um, but this is a step too far. But he spends a dark night of thinking about it, and he just knuckles under,
Yeah. He goes
as
ahead
he
and does it.
as these characters do.
And it's a tricky one because although it's a horrendous business, he also kind of thinks, "What am I in too deep with with this company, with the foundation?" And what'll happen to him if he declines is the other thing. So he kind of has
Well,
this moral dilemma, I suppose.
what happens to him if he declines is sort of everybody understands it, but nobody speaks about it.
Yeah,
Something nasty will
exactly.
happen.
And so then I'm thinking, okay, he's our main guy, but then of course the focus switches to Judy, who is of course the one that they put the ad, they get her to do an ad, and it is a real ad, and then they use that. They send in our chap David posing as Greg, and he says, I saw your ad, it's very good. I can get you some more work. Come with me, and off they go. So Side Martin ends up not really being our main character. I mean, he still appears throughout the book, but the focus, as you say, it seems to switch to Judy. So that wasn't necessarily something you had intended. That was just the way the story went, was it?
And possibly that goes against all the rules of structure, but that was the way the story went. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then, of course, we focus a little bit more towards the end about more of these social issues then. I mean, and again, not to give too many details or spoilers, but we do end up with a big siege type scene, which I suppose is supposed to be the not the pinnacle, but almost the reductio ad absurdum of some of the kind of woke arguments that we see today.
Mhm.
How it's interesting to me because you talk about that stuff without kind of laboring the point. I feel like, it doesn't
That's
turn
fair.
into to a rant. Was that a
That's
fine line to cross?
that's fair. That was very deliberate. It could easily have turned into a rant, and I saw that was the wrong way to go.
Yeah, I
The
suppose so.
sorry, the point about the siege is that all these people are turned against them, and none of their objections apply to who they're besieging. They're just besieging an order, which a lot
Yeah.
of people have these days.
Now, the question is, how, do you find that, because I don't know, do you find that to be a realistic interpretation of the way things are going to go in the world, or is it more of a caricature?
It's not a caricature, but it's not a projection either. I'm not in the business of telling people about the future. If I were, it'd be a tremendously powerful position to be in.
And that's true as well.
It's a realistic speculation, shall we say?
That's yeah, realistic speculation. I think that's fair. And the book is, and it's interesting on the title, and I forgot this as I was reading it, and I had to kind of close the book and go back and look at it. But it's right there on the front cover, only a little into the future, So it is maybe, as you say, that realistic speculation of what could happen. Um,
I've had one review so far that says it's not only a little into the future; it says it's here.
well, that was kind of, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Do you think this stuff is starting to happen?
It wasn't me that said it.
Yeah. But I was thinking that myself, I was thinking that is that potentially where things are going, if it's the future, then maybe it's the immediate future, it's right, it's tomorrow, maybe not next year. But that's pure speculation. But it's an interesting book because I enjoy the story. I really, really rooting for Judy, of course. I want to find out, how things are going with her. She gets together, of course, with James. They've got Roddy, their sort of ex-detective who's helping them out. They've got their little kind of gang put together, and I'm rooting for them. But then, of course, I wasn't expecting the siege stuff. I suppose I was expecting more. We go back to the foundation and we just see what's going to happen with the next girl. So I was actually very pleasantly surprised by the way the plot completely swerved me. It didn't go in the direction I was expecting at all.
The point about the foundation is it's so amorphous and shadowy in the background. You can't confront it.
Yeah.
And they can't either. They beat it back on this one particular aspect, but that's as far as they get. And they retire in victory, but it's not really a victory.
It's not, yeah, because the naive part of me thinks, I'm reading and I'm thinking, we're running out of pages. How are we going to take down the entire foundation? And then I realize, oh, we're not
Not,
going to.
no.
It's impossible.
That's very much the point. Yeah,
Yeah. You can just
that that
have this
that was
one.
that was that was no. No, that's very much the point. Yeah, that was designed from the beginning.
Yeah. How, overreaching is the foundation? It seems to have a great span, a great control. Of course, you said yourself already, part of what they're doing is getting information on important people, politicians and the like, potentially to blackmail them or whatever. It seems like they're becoming very, very powerful. Is that fair to
Well,
say?
how powerful do you think they are? We live in an age where you choose your conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Certainly they seem to be very powerful. And I think one or two hints that we get, maybe, although it might be speculation on my part, is when the police completely fail to do anything on more than one occasion when they're
Well,
called
that's
out.
already happening.
Yeah. So that's the moment where I'm thinking, okay, so the Foundation have bought, the police, potentially the whole town's police, if not at least the chap who's gone out. And so you think that's already happening in today's world?
Well, there was 6 London policemen turned up the day before yesterday to arrest from Northern Ireland, strangely enough, in London, one of these preacher ranters.
Mm.
And 6 people turned up to arrest him. And how many people turned up to arrest people at the Palestinian demonstrations every Saturday? How many are arrested?
Mm. I think it's definitely something that we should, as members of a society, be conscious of and be worried about. And certainly, we want to know what motivation is behind things that are happening. What are the police doing? Are they serving us or are they tyrannizing us? And who's calling the shots for them? And certainly, the last people I would ever trust is is the current Tory government to be doing anything in anyone's favor but their
Oh,
own.
yeah.
So. Yeah, it's an interesting point. So you've mentioned that our friend Side Martin, this is not his first rodeo, so to speak. I'm not going to spoil what kind of becomes of him, but let me just phrase it in a particular way. Is there going to be a sequel or a follow-up to this, or is this a closed story now?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay, interesting. Because
That's
I'll
that. Well, there is a sequel. There's a sequel which is 90% complete, and it's nothing to do with the present one.
right, okay. So in what sense is it a sequel? Just more in the
Well,
this set
in
in the
in
same kind of
in
universe, or
sense, it's the next book.
yeah.
That's
Okay.
all. Yeah.
Okay. But there's no direct kind of tie-in with the characters. I was wondering because of course some of the characters you could pick up on and some you couldn't, but you can definitely pick up on the foundation. And there is still that part of me that wonders, will we get that next book and see someone try to take down another cell or another plan of theirs, another element. But certainly, they seem to have gotten to a position to be not untouchable, but unbeatable, I guess.
Well, that's the impression I wanted to leave. That they're retreating. They've had their nose bloodied, but there's no way. Is there a sequel to come actually directly from this? Possibly, I don't know. But the next book is not about that. It's
Hmm.
something completely different.
Okay, and you say it's 90% done, so are we expecting to get that this year, or has it got to go through a long sort of editing process? When can we hope to look forward to that one?
Oh, we should have it this year. Yeah.
Good, good. I'll look forward to that then. Well, there's a question that we ask every author who comes on the show, so I'll go ahead and ask it to you now, and that's if there's any existing book that you wish you'd been the person to write, what do you think it would be?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I to narrow that down to one. It'll surprise
We
you.
have had people give more than one answer, but I mean, ideally one. Yeah, whatever you're comfortable with, I guess.
No. Okay then. The Confessions of a Justified Sinner. Have you heard of
Confessions?
it?
No, I haven't actually. The Confessions of a Justified Sinner.
Yeah. It's a
Okay.
Scottish book by the Border Shepherd, and it was, gosh, when was it published? It was published anonymously in about, oh gosh, 1830, 1840. It's absolutely groundbreaking. And the publisher was of my name, but that's another story. And it's, oh gosh, you have to read it. It's
I've
so
just
far ahead of its time.
I've just Googled it here. Believed to have been written in 1824, about
Yeah,
400 pages. Yeah, James Hogg. Okay. But as you say, published
he wrote,
anonymously.
I think that's the only novel he wrote. And it was originally published anonymously, yeah, because he was terrified of the
Mm.
reactions of the church at the time. And it's Oh, it's so deep. It's against predestination, and it's a psychological story. It's a political story. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I would recommend it thoroughly, and it's way ahead.
Fantastic.
If it was published today, either with the details moderned up to the present time,
Mm.
or published as a sort of retrospective historical novel, it would pass no problem at all. And I
Good.
don't think he wrote another novel. I think he wrote lots of short stories and poems and what have you. But
Not another novel.
he was a very humble origins. He really was
Mm.
the epic shepherd, and well, that was his. I think his culmination of his powers. Yeah.
Good. I love to get a recommendation that I've never encountered before. That's fantastic. Sometimes people, oh, I wish I'd written, some really successful book, Harry Potter or something, but this is something very, I don't want to say niche, but very something that's completely evaded my book
It's,
searches. So I'm glad to have the
I mean,
recommendation.
I mean, in the Scottish background, it came out more or less the same time as all the novels of what's his name. Gosh, mine's gone a blank. Jinx Scrivens. Ivanhoe and all that crap.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I can't stand. Churned out by the yard. And it is, in contrast to all these, it's just soars high above them.
Fair enough. Well, the last thing I'll ask you then, John, is if you'd like to plug your website or, tell people where they can go and get the book, something like that, and then we'll let you go.
The website is down at the moment because I'm wrestling away with Wix. Oh, you don't need to know it. But the website, once it will be up, is just wjblackwood.com.
Cool.
I got the .com without numbers or anything.
That's grand. So we'll go ahead and put a link in the show notes anyway, and then people can go check it out. And hopefully they'll check out your wonderful book. There we go. The Turning Point by W.J. Blackwood.
I've got
John,
one of them.
you got it as well, yeah. John, thank you so much for calling in and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Okay, thank you.